I heard them before I saw them. Gravel doesn't lie. It pops and grinds under heavy tires, and that morning the sound rolled up my porch steps like a warning. A white HOA patrol truck eased down my narrow road, oak branches brushing its roof, sunlight flashing off a blue and gold seal on the door. It stopped halfway to my workshop. The guard stepped out, boots crunching, phone already raised. He took pictures of my utility trailer, my fence posts, even the survey stakes I'd driven myself last spring. I walked down, slow, no rush, no anger. Morning, I said. He didn't smile. Compliance enforcement. We'll be checking this stretch weekly. This road isn't HOA property, I told him. He smirked like I'd just told a joke. Everything in this subdivision is. That was the moment it shifted from confusion to arrogance, because this wasn't a subdivision road. And what he didn't realize, idling right there under those oak trees, was that his tires had just crossed a boundary that would cost someone their job. I decided to confirm exactly how wrong they were. I'm not the guy who picks fights with homeowners associations. I'm 46. Spent 15 years as a civil engineer before moving into land consulting. I read plats the way some people read novels. Contours, easements, right-of-ways. They tell stories if you know what you're looking at. I bought these 6 acres long before the subdivision pushed its fences this far out. Back when it was pasture and promise. My deed includes the gravel access road running through the oaks, recorded, indexed. Taxed in my name every year, I granted one thing, a limited utility easement so power and water lines could cross. Nothing more. I built my workshop at the end of that road. My daughter learned to drive on that gravel, jerky starts, and nervous laughter. It's not just dirt to me. It's time invested. It's legacy. I don't go to HOA meetings because I'm not a member. Never signed covenants. Never agreed to oversight. What I do keep is paperwork. Every deed, survey, and plat map sits in a fireproof cabinet in my office. 3 days later, a violation notice showed up in my mailbox. The envelope had their logo stamped in the corner like a badge of authority. Inside was a violation letter. $500 for unauthorized trailer storage. A paragraph about visual standards. A warning that continued noncompliance could result in a lien against my property. They cited bylaws I'd never signed. I read it twice, slow, no anger yet. Just that tight feeling behind the ribs when someone speaks with confidence they haven't earned. I called the management office. A woman with a rehearsed tone told me, all roads inside the development fall under HOA oversight. This road isn't inside your development, I said. It is on our map. That word stuck. After we hung up, I pulled up the county GIS system. Zoomed in, there it was. An HOA boundary layer shading right over my gravel road like it had always belonged to them. But I knew what my deed said. Digging deeper, I found a reference to a boundary amendment filed 3 years ago. I didn't argue again. The next morning, I drove straight to the county recorder's office. The county record room smells like paper and toner. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, and the air always feels a few degrees too cool. I signed the logbook and pulled the original subdivision plat first. Clean lines, clear borders. My parcel sat just outside it, separate and unmistakable. Next came my deed. Then the easement agreement I'd granted. Utility access only, spelled out in black ink. So far, everything matched what I already knew. Then I found the filing from 3 years ago, titled Boundary Clarification, Internal Amendment. It was recorded shortly after the developer handed control to the HOA board. The document referenced my parcel number, but there was no signature from me. No deed transfer, no consideration paid. Just language implying alignment with existing infrastructure. How do you clarify a boundary you never owned? That's when it clicked. They hadn't filed an acquisition. They'd filed an internal amendment. Like they were rearranging furniture inside a house they already possessed. HOAs can't annex land without recorded consent and updated deed acknowledgement. That's not opinion. That's property law. I requested certified copies of everything. By the time I left, irritation had turned into strategy. That evening, I checked the date of the next HOA board meeting. The clubhouse smelled like burnt coffee and lemon disinfectant. Folding chairs scraped across tile as neighbors settled in, whispering about fence stains and mailbox paint. I waited my turn. When they called my name, I walked to the front with a slim folder, no speeches, just paper. "I believe there's been a boundary error," I said, laying out my deed, the certified plat, and the recorded easement. "My road isn't part of this association." The board president barely glanced down. "Our attorney approved the amendment," he said, leaning back. "Everything is in compliance." The patrol supervisor, one guy from the truck, folded his arms. "He's been non-compliant since day one." A few quiet chuckles rippled through the room. They voted to escalate enforcement. More fines. Continued patrol access. Then the president added, almost casually, "Our insurance covers all common areas." I kept my face neutral. My phone sat on the table, recording. Legal in this state, their mistake wasn't laughing. It was reaffirming jurisdiction over my property on the record. I didn't argue. The next morning, I called a real estate attorney not to sue, but to understand exactly what they'd exposed themselves to. The attorney didn't say much at first. He just read deed, plat, amendment, meeting transcript. Then he leaned back. "If they are asserting control," he said, "they're assuming liability." "For what?" I asked. "Everything. Accidents, injuries, property damage, actions of their patrol. If they claim it's a common area, it becomes their operational responsibility." He pulled the HOA's publicly filed insurance summary. Coverage applied to recorded common elements only. My road wasn't one of them. "So what happens," I asked, "if their patrol damages something out there?" He gave me a thin smile. "That's the question. We drafted a formal cease and desist, demand to stop enforcement, notice of trespass, explicit warning that continued assertion of authority could trigger uninsured liability exposure. I sent it certified. They ignored it. 2 days later, the patrol truck rolled down my gravel again. That afternoon, I installed metal signs at both ends. Private road, no HOA authority, clean. Visible. Undeniable. They drove past them anyway. The third visit didn't go the way they expected, the third time they came down my road. It had rained the night before. Gravel shifts when it's wet. The edges get soft. The patrol truck tried to swing wide near the culvert by my workshop. I watched from a distance as the rear tire slid off the packed center and sank into the shoulder. The driver gunned it once, wrong move. The weight crushed part of the drainage lip and split a section of concrete lining. No one was hurt, but damage is damage. I walked down with my phone already recording. Close-ups of the tire rut, the cracked culvert, wide shots showing my survey stakes and the private road sign in the same frame. Timestamps visible. License plate clear. That afternoon I sent a certified demand. Repair costs, formal trespass notice, and explicit liability warning, referencing their prior assertion of authority. Their response? A draft notice of lien for unpaid fines. That's when irritation turned into escalation. I forwarded everything, plitties, meeting transcript, certified copies, to their insurance carrier, the county planning office, and the original developer who had signed the turnover documents. And buried in that turnover packet was the smoking gun. My road was never transferred, not accidentally, not conditionally, not at all. A week later, the HOA board received a request from their insurance company demanding documentation review. The email went out on a Sunday night, emergency session. Mandatory board attendance. By Tuesday, the clubhouse was full. This time, there was no coffee chatter. Just tension. A speakerphone sat in the center of the front table. The insurance representative joined virtually, voice calm and clinical. "We need clarification," she said. "Can you provide recorded deed transfer for parcel 18A roadway?" Silence, papers shuffled. The board president looked to their attorney. He cleared his throat. "It was our understanding the road functioned as internal infrastructure following developer turnover." "That wasn't the question," the insurance rep replied. "Is there a recorded deed transfer?" Another pause. "No." The attorney admitted. Her tone didn't change. Continued enforcement or operational activity on property outside recorded common elements may constitute unauthorized jurisdictional exposure. That could affect coverage. You could feel the room shift. Neighbors started whispering, not about my trailer this time, but about dues. about liability, about why patrol trucks were driving on land the HOA didn't own. The president stiffened, defensive. We acted in good faith. But good faith doesn't repair culverts or cover lawsuits. By the end of the meeting, they voted to suspend patrol authority pending review. What they didn't say out loud was that the consequences had already started moving. The letter from their insurance carrier arrived certified. Immediate cessation of patrol activity on Parcel 18A. Written acknowledgement of boundary error required. Confirmation of repair payment within 30 days. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was precise. A week later, I received a check covering the culvert damage and surface restoration. Attached was a formal statement recognizing that my road was not and had never been a recorded common element. The county planning office followed up by flagging the prior amendment as improperly categorized. Not fraud, not conspiracy, just filed wrong and relied on too confidently. The board president resigned the following month, citing personal reasons. The management company quietly terminated the patrol contract and hired a new compliance vendor. And the lien draft? Withdrawn in writing. There were no handcuffs, no viral shouting match, just the slow, methodical dismantling of authority that was never legitimate to begin with. By then, I had leverage, more than enough. The question was what to do with it. I could have pushed further, trespass damages, attorney fees, maybe more. The leverage was there, clean and documented, but I didn't buy this land to win battles. I bought it to build something that lasts. Instead, I recorded permanent boundary signage with the county photographs, affidavit, cross-referenced to the original plat, paper that won't disappear when the next board rotates in. I filed a formal affidavit clarifying the easement limits, so no future clarification could blur the lines again. Then I knocked on a few neighbors' doors. Not to gloat, just to explain how easements work, why boundaries matter. Most of them had no idea. The tension eased after that. Kids started riding bikes near the Oaks again. No white truck idling behind them. One evening, the former patrol supervisor drove past on the main road, slowed, nodded. I nodded back. Everything in this subdivision isn't yours, and that's exactly how it should be. So let me ask you something.